If communication is what we need to interact with people within the business, within life, it's part of what makes us human, then why are we so bad at it, especially with relationships that matter? Hi, I'm Wendy Tansey from Northstone Business Consulting, and I want to talk to you about one of the most essential skills that I believe we need in leadership, as business owners, and just in general, and that is communication. Whether it's verbal, written, it's something that can build relationships, and it's something that can absolutely destroy those relationships if we get it wrong. So let's talk about what happens within communication in the workplace. I've got 7 tips on how to have some of those difficult conversations which, if you're a leader within a business, they inevitably happen. And I'd like to share with you some ways that we can build our communication skills. So let's get to it. Communication is a really interesting area, isn't it? Because we think our words are the most important. But we know that in communication, that the verbal part is really only about 7% from my understanding from this research. Then we have the whole tone of voice, and that's about 38% of our communication. And what's the last part? You got it. Body language, the non-verbal. So that's about 55%. And what we find happens is how we say things actually impacts. How we're standing, our tone of voice really impacts more than the words. Interestingly enough, how that then translates into written communication has a major impact within the workplace. I find it fascinating when I start to break down with people what's going on in that communication. And I think the quote from Bernard Shaw really highlights some of the things that are going on. George Bernard Shaw says, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. This is one of the most key statements or quotes about communication, because more often than not, we've said what we wanted to say, we've given the instructions, or we've given the feedback, or we've talked about, what's happening in the business, and we believe that we've communicated that. And as business owners, that is a major mistake. We haven't checked in, we haven't worked it out. So let me just share with you a little bit more about what I believe is going on in that process. I believe this is one of the most fundamental processes of communication. So we have the source, which is us. When we come to communicate, we have the things going on in our brain, the stories we tell ourselves, we have all the things going around, and then we encode that. So basically encoding means that we take all that information and we say it in a way that we feel that the other person will hear us. There is a channel, so the message then travels on a channel. And that channel could be email, it could be verbal, it could be in something like Slack or Teams, it could be over the phone. And then the person gets that message and they have to decode it. And they decode it with everything that's going on for them. So they decode it with their own stories, their own beliefs, their own processes and things that they think are happening at the time. And they give us some form of feedback, and it might be, oh, okay, got it. Or thanks for the message. And we think it's been given. Sometimes the context really, really matters, because it could be in a number of different ways that we have given that message. If we've walked in and we're really, this is what needs to happen and we need to do it now, then that is what the person hears. Yeah. They hear the anger, they hear the forcefulness, rather than we might be in a panic and, guys, we've got to get this done now. There's so many ways that communication gets lost. It could be we believe we've communicated correctly, but have we checked in? Have we really listened to understand that they've heard what we want them to do, or we've heard the message, they've heard the message? So that's one of the ways I believe that communication falls apart, is that simple belief that we've said the words and the person's understood what we've meant, what we've said. But that doesn't always happen, does it? Communication, I believe, is vital to grow our business and scale it. It's vital as leaders within our business. It's vital leaders within any business. And it's also vital in our most significant relationships, whether that be with our partner, our children, our parents, our workers, our team. It's a really essential skill to have as a leader. So, what are the tips we can have in building our communication? And not only, what do we do when we have difficult conversations? Because if you're a leader, a business owner, at some point you're going to have a difficult conversation with somebody in your team. I have 7 tips to share with you. And believe me, these will help build your communication skills as well as help you when it comes to having difficult conversations. I think one of the worst things we can do when it comes to communication is avoid it. And it might even be just checking in with someone, avoiding, giving some feedback, avoiding. Number 1, don't avoid the conversation. The longer we leave it, the worse it gets, because tension builds, frustration builds. People tell themselves stories about why you're not talking to them, or why you haven't addressed something. Or worse, they think they're doing a great job and you just haven't given them feedback to say they're doing it not how they should be, or it's not actually working. We don't know that we're not doing a great job unless someone tells us. We may not know that how we're doing the process isn't landing where it needs to land. So don't avoid those tough conversations or what you perceive as a tough conversation. Don't avoid having the conversation with the person or your team. Number 2, check the intention of why you need to give this feedback or why you need to talk to the person. Is it because they're not doing it how you would do it? Because that might not be a great reason to have the conversation. Is it because you really need to give them the feedback and it will help the process in the business? So just check in. What is your intention for why you want to have this conversation if it's a difficult conversation? If it's one that just you need to communicate, again, is it that I'm sharing the business plan, the business strategy, and why are you sharing it? Number 3 goes hand in hand with this, and that is, what is your mindset here? Because you may need to change it. If our mindset is we're going to have a difficult conversation, then we come to the conversation with all these preconceived ideas of what difficult means. If our mindset is, this is going to be an encouraging conversation, it's going to be supportive, it's going to help them grow, it's going to help the business, then that has a completely different mindset when we come to have the conversation. When we perceive something to be difficult, we have all this tension and anxiety that builds up inside us, or can. We have all these negative feelings. And what happens here is the amygdala hijacks what's going on in our brain. And if you haven't heard that term before, it can be a little odd. Yes, the amygdala hijacks what's going on in our brain when we have heightened emotions. Let me get into that for a minute. So, have you ever been in an interview or a difficult conversation and you can't remember anything that you were going to say? You've been asked a question and your brain just is blank. And when you get out of that conversation or out of that interview, you go, oh, I could have said this and I could have said this and I could have said that. What's happened in that moment is the amygdala in your brain has hijacked your thinking. The amygdala is a small little almond shape in the center of your brain, and it's the reptilian part of our brain. And it's where fight or flight is. So what happens when we have heightened emotions? Our amygdala goes, oh no, Wendy's not safe. I need to protect her, and goes into fight or flight mode, which means all our energy, like our thinking, rushes to that part to protect us. And what actually is happening here is the prefrontal cortex loses all its energy and thinking. And this is where our thinking happens, to protect us. And yes, we no longer need to fight or run away in a situation because we aren't facing that level of danger. But our brain doesn't know that. And so what it does is it tries to protect us. The modern version of that is to withdraw or get defensive. There are two modern ways that our brain then protects us from those heightened emotions. So if your mindset is that you're about to go into a difficult conversation and you're addressing that person as if it's a difficult conversation, both of you have probably gone into your fight or flight, and the conversation might not go so well. But if you have the mindset that you are going in with the belief that this is going to be an encouraging conversation, it's going to actually help the person, then that is a different mindset. Your brain knows you're safe and it helps you to actually communicate better. You're not defensive, you're not stiff, you're not struggling, you're actually more relaxed. And if you're relaxed, the person you're going to speak to will be relaxed. And that's the same if we're doing a presentation on our strategy. We might be a bit nervous, but again, check your mindset. Have a think about why you're doing this. This is great. We're going to share this. This will help everyone be on the same page. Yes, I'm nervous. That's okay. Number 4, always be professional. When we're in our business, it's easy to have those heightened emotions and to let them run away. And let's be honest, we can't do that. We should always be professional. I have worked with clients who have had people screaming in their office, people swearing at one another. And quite frankly, that is not okay. If we want to build a high-performing culture and have our team engaged, those types of behaviours cannot coexist. So be professional. Speak with your team with respect. Another thing always be professional means is keeping your emotions in check. And again, we go back to that amygdala hijack. We may be in a heightened state of emotions, but our emotional intelligence is key as leaders. Number 5, use your listening skills. Listening when we're communicating is so important. It helps us to know whether the person has got our message. If we go back to the diagram where we talk about the encoding the message and then people decoding with their own stuff, that doesn't mean they've heard. And when we use our listening skills, we can understand whether the person has heard what the message we're trying to get across, but we can also understand what their message is. It's really an vital skill to have is empathetic listening. And not just for difficult conversations, but in all aspects about running our business. Listening is far more important than talking. I think it's that odd thing about having 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much than what you talk. Might be a good point. Number 6, be solutions focused. So whenever we're having a difficult conversation or a conversation where we're giving feedback, come with solutions. If you're sitting down to meet with someone, the best thing to do is to be able to think about solutions before you enter that conversation. Because if you go in and you just say, Wendy, your attention to detail is not great, and I ask for ways to solve this, or you've got no idea, then does it actually help me at all? You've just thrown it out there and now I have to work through it. If you can be solutions focused, it moves the whole situation quicker. An example of this was a client who had a team member who was always late to meetings. She was one of the senior leaders. And so he sat down with her and he said, Jill, I've noticed that more often than not, you are late to meetings. The rest of the team has to wait for you to get there because you're a vital part of our business. The team feel, though, that you don't respect their time when you're late. I'm wondering if there's a way that we can help you here so that you can be on time in meetings. Is it that your meetings are back to back and you just can't get from one to the other on time? Is it that some of the meetings are at 8 o'clock and I know you've got to drop kids off? How can we help you here? And that is a much better way of putting it than saying, be on time or there'll be consequences. See the difference? Okay, number 7, I think we're up to. 7, plan, plan, plan. Whether it's a difficult conversation, sharing a strategy, being in a meeting that needs to achieve something and make some decisions, you need to plan. Winging it doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work at any level about anything that we share. So plan what you need to plan to get the outcome you need. Plan, plan, plan. One of the other areas of communication that tends to fall down is giving feedback. We often avoid it, and we often avoid getting feedback, but both are so important. Let me share with you a diagram why giving and receiving feedback is really important. This is called the Johari window, and it was put together in 1955 by 2 guys, Joe and Harry, which is how you get Johari. And it is a really old theory, but it's actually brilliant because what it tells us is feedback is so important for our development. And feedback, therefore, is really important for your people's development. Let me explain it. So across the top 2 boxes are the things you know about me. The yellow and blue sections are the things I know about me. The green and the pink are the things I don't know about me. And the blue and the pink are the things that people don't know about me. The yellow is the things you know and I know, that we both know about me at the same time. The blue is the things I know but you don't, and I just haven't shared them with you yet. The green is what you know about me but I don't. I have blind spots. We all have blind spots. And the pink is what neither of us know. And that's our area of growth is down the green and the pink. If I don't get feedback from you, or you don't give feedback to your team, or you don't get feedback given to you, then you don't grow. How are you going to know those things if nobody tells you? Some feedback in other ways, but the best way is for someone to actually tell us. Are you aware this is how you came across in this presentation? Are you aware that you constantly said Are you aware that you're brilliant at presentations? And people are so engaged with how you speak. The more feedback we get, the more we can start to know more about ourselves. And same goes with what we share. Now, some sharing isn't appropriate in certain situations, but when we share, we also grow. So keep that one in mind too. I hope that I've given you enough to understand how important communication is. As business owners, as leaders, as CEOs, as managing directors, whatever your title is, understanding communication and being able to do it effectively will help scale your business quicker than probably anything else. Because when we communicate well, it builds our culture. It helps our people be engaged. They know they can come to us. They know that they are safe, that the feedback we give them will be positive and caring and empathetic. If this has spoken to you or you want some help in this area, please reach out. My calendar invites in the comments. You can also learn a bit more about Northstone and Northstone Edge, which is my business owner program. Furthermore, if you'd like to know more about communication and you just want to understand and have some coaching in this area, also reach out. Book a time with me. I'd love to learn more about you. And if this is helpful, please subscribe. I'm a new channel. It will help me to continue to build and reach out to more people. Thank you.